So today we're going to be talking about the Fujifilm X-S10, and we're going to be talking about a number of things, from the photo and video capabilities, the autofocus, battery life, image stabilization, all of that good stuff. But basically we're going to be gushing about how great this little camera is. So let's get started. So the X-S10 is my very first Fujifilm camera. So as somebody who is switching over to the brand and this camera in particular, I can say that I am having a great time using it and just toying around with it. Also, I shot an unboxing video talking about the body itself, so please go check that out if you haven't seen it yet. I'll wait. Basically, this Fuji camera's overall look is very different compared to other Fujifilm models, especially at this price point. And that's because it has this classic DSLR type design. It has this huge and deep grip, which is very rare in Fuji cameras. And the design is nice and very familiar, which is great for somebody like me who was previously using another brand. And I think that's what Fujifilm was going for when they were designing this camera. They didn't use the classic retro film camera look that most Fujis have, and instead they went for the modern mirrorless look. This also has the exact same 26.1 megapixel X-Trans4 CMOS sensor as the XT-4, their flagship hybrid. So right out of the box, you're getting the best possible image quality that Fuji has to offer, and that's going to be without a doubt absolutely amazing. And I think that this model sits between the XT30 and XT4 lineup. It's kind of like a hybrid between the two, but you still get very high-end features in a very compact body. The X-S10 is kind of like the little brother to the XT4, kind of like the iPad Air is to the iPad Pro. It doesn't have all the luxurious and high-end features that you would want, but it still packs so much, and probably even more than enough for the average prosumer. So let's go ahead and talk about the photo capabilities of this camera. So it goes without saying that Fujifilm is an amazing brand for photography and stills, and I actually made a video on the Fuji X-T200 not long ago, and that thing is like half the price of this camera, but basically that took amazing photos. And considering that this has the exact same flagship sensor as the XT3 and XT4, you already know that it's going to be amazing. So we went ahead and did two types of shoots with this. We did a product photography shoot and one where we just went outside and took some photos outside. The majority of photos for that shoot were shot in Provia, which is the standard in Fuji cameras. So not a lot of editing, just some light tweaks in Lightroom. But there's still a lot of things that you can change in the menu and even add to your liking. So you can change the aspect ratio you want to shoot in. You can choose to shoot in JPEG or RAW or both. You can even add grain to your photos if that's something that you're into. You can add a color chrome effect, or if you want it to enhance just the blues in your photo, go with color chrome FX blue. You can even adjust the tone curves of your film simulation, so whether you want more detail in your highlights or your shadows, or the exact opposite, so you have a little more control in post, you can do that. You can also adjust the color and sharpness. Basically, you'll have so much to customize in camera to suit your style and brand. So if you're the type of person who likes to have a lot of control in post, or if you're the kind of person to just shoot and upload, you can do both things with the X-S10, no problem. Now let's go on to the video capabilities of this wonderful little camera. Fujifilm being a photocentric brand, at first I wasn't really considering them to be the next brand that I invest in, but they have been putting a lot of priority into video in their newer cameras, the XT-4, XT-200, the X-S10 being great examples for that. One of the best features that you get for video on the X-S10 is IBIS. It's actually insane that a camera this small, this tiny, it's really small, has in-body image stabilization. But don't expect it to be like this gimbal-like thing. No, it's just there to remove your micro jitters and all of that. So whether you're vlogging, you know, holding your camera like this, walking around, or doing some handheld shots, it will be able to get rid of those micro jitters just fine. So here are some test shots, you know, test vlog shots with the 18-55 kit lens. Okay, this is me shooting at 23.98 frames per second. I have IBIS on and face detection autofocus, so I am walking around and I think it's doing a pretty good job of keeping my face in focus. I'm using an ND filter to keep me at f2.8, so yeah, this is what it looks like. Vlog test is looking pretty good in full HD. Let's go try out 4K. Okay, now I am shooting it in 4K, 23.98 frames per second. Face and eye detection autofocus as well, so yeah, it also looks pretty good. So I'm a complete idiot because for some reason I turned off the OIS of my lens. I still don't know why, so those test shots might seem a little jittery. So here's another test shot with the OIS on the lens on, and it looks so much better. Top of the morning, everybody. Man, I haven't vlogged like this in a really long time, where I'm actually like vlogging. But we're out and about today. So you'll be able to shoot 24p up to 60p up to 200 megabits per second, which is absolutely insane. The quality is so crisp, so good, but the file sizes are enormous. So 100 megabits per second is a good sweet spot for both storage and quality. But if you're a little tight on space, you can always shoot in 50 Mbps full HD. In 4K, you'll be able to shoot up to 4K 30 frames per second with a 100 megabit and 200 megabit option. So on the X-S10, they have this interesting feature where you can shoot in DCI, in Full HD, and 4K. So basically, it allows you to shoot with a 17:9 aspect ratio as opposed to the normal 16:9 aspect ratio. This will actually look better on mobile devices when you watch in landscape mode. It gets rid of those big bars on the side. And that's so interesting because usually that's something you have to do in post, and it's really great to have that option in camera. So overall, the quality of like the 24p clips and 60p clips, 4K, they're all so good. So here are some more sample shots. So nice that you can get 60p up to 200 megabits per second, so you have very high quality slow motion clips, but you aren't limited to just 60p. You can also shoot in 120 and 240, although you won't be able to choose the bitrate you shoot in, and there's an additional crop. It's also important to note that when you shoot high frame rates like 120 and 240, you need a lot of light to get the best result. So yeah, but overall the quality I got from the 120 and 240 clips still looked really good. They didn't look mushy, they still looked sharp and very high def. So yeah. film simulations in photo can also be used in video. So all 18 that are found on the XT-4 are also found on the X-S10, which is great. So you have so much to choose from. You also have the option to adjust the tone curves and color and sharpness just like in photo, which is great. So if you want a little more control in post, you can do that. But if you don't want to do any grading in post, it is also very much possible because Fuji color science is just so good. And one of the best things about having a Fujifilm camera is just having all these film simulations to toy with, and you can adjust them to your liking. But if you want to go the extra mile with your edit, you can shoot in F-Log, which is a lot more flat and just gives you so much more data to toy around with in your editing software when you're grading. It is important to note that the files here are 8-bit and not 10-bit, 8-bit 420, which is not technically ideal for shooting log. But if you really need that 10-bit 422 color, you can always connect an external recorder to the micro HDMI. So I think it's really nice that you still have that option, although that's not something I would do. But yeah. As for autofocus, video autofocus is really, really nice. You know, it has face and eye detection autofocus. So if you vlog with this, it will be able to keep your face in focus. It had a little bit of a hard time with me because I was wearing a face mask and face shield, but it was still able to track me anyway. It also has single point continuous autofocus, which works very well. It's also important to note that Fujifilm's photo autofocus depends on the lens, because again, this was a photo-centric brand at first, so it has like very snappy autofocus for photos, not exactly great for videos because it might look a little jarring, you know, it's not smooth. But the 18-55 kit lens works very, very well for video, as well as the 23 f2. So for audio, you get a 3.5mm mic input, which is great because you can put in an external mic. So when I have my Rode Videomicro on this, I have it set to -6 decibels in the audio setting, so I can be in between the -18 and -12 decibels, which is ideal. But of course, it's going to depend on whatever mic you're using. You have to test it out and see for yourself what works best. So the Fujifilm X-S10 uses the NPW126S batteries, which are kind of infamous for having very little juice, considering how small they are. And honestly, that's what kind of put me off choosing the X-S10 over the XT-4, because the XT-4 has much bigger batteries. But yeah, that's the reason why I ended up getting 2 of these right away after buying the camera, because I was just so afraid that one extra battery wasn't gonna cut it, or just like one battery was definitely not gonna cut it. So I got 2 more third-party batteries from Wasabi Power, and it came with an external charger, which was great because I didn't have the USB charge anymore. But yeah, those 4 extra batteries were definitely more than enough for all the shoots that I did for this, you know, camera, and like all the other videos that I made. And the videos I shot outside, I had another camera with me, an XT-200. I borrowed it, so those 5 batteries were enough for the 2 cameras. So battery life wasn't as bad as I was expecting. I was really impressed with the low light performance on this. I was able to get up to like 5000 ISO, and it still looked really good. And I went to the top. I went to 25-600, which was definitely overkill, and the footage was definitely unusable. But yeah, where we were shooting, it was very, very dark. It had very little light, but you know, it still did a pretty good job, even with photos. It still took nice detailed photos, and you know, it still depends on the lens that you're using. I was using the f2.8 18-55 lens, so it still opens pretty wide. And of course, to get the best results in low light, it's better to get a fast prime. I had the 23 f2 with me, so yeah, both photo and video did very well for low light tests. Last thing we're going to be talking about is overheating. So it is important to note that here in the Philippines, a regular day is around 29 to 31 degrees, so it gets very, very hot. I was shooting in full HD when I was outside, and I did get that little notification that it was getting kind of warm, and I really did feel that. that it was getting warm, but it never died because it overheated, and you know, I didn't have to wait for it to cool down, which was nice. So yeah, I'm not sure if that would be the same case if I were shooting in 4K. So overall, I think that the Fujifilm X-S10 is an amazing little camera. It's just so small and lightweight, but it's still feature packed. It's a great photo camera, it's a great video camera, it has all those high-end features like IBIS and high frame rates. You have all of those film simulations to play with. Now initially I was supposed to go for the XT-4, their flagship hybrid, and now the question is, do I regret getting this over the XT-4? And the answer is no. Like, I am so happy that I went with the XS10 instead, and that's because the features that are lacking here are mostly very professional features that I might not even use, like 10-bit and 4K 60, weather sealing, and a bigger battery. And yes, all of those things are great, especially the bigger battery, but you know, I'd rather save the money and like go with the Prime, because the image quality that you're getting on this will be the exact same as the XT4 because they share the same sensor. So yeah, pair that up with the 18-55 kit lens. It's just so good, such a good lens to start with. But the XS10 also comes with the XC 15-45 f3 5-5.6, so I think that comes at a much cheaper price point. So tell me if you guys want a review of that lens with this camera, I'll make it work. So yeah, that's pretty much that for this video. Hopefully you guys got something from it. If I forgot about something, just comment down below and I'll try my best to answer it or help you guys out. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe.